All right, guys, welcome to Next Level Live. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It is always feels good. Who doesn't like to be cheered for? How long did you? We gotta get some new sound effects though.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, you got a couple of good ones. We just don't want to wear them out. We come up with some good ones. So, there is a lot of things to cheer about. Well, first of all, I want to make sure I set the stage for what we got going on today. We got Matt Smith and John Gavin and Tiffany Gruenberg, and then we also have after that Mike Sizer and the entire staff. They work really hard on these movies. The Big Bounty, right, Mike?
Right.
It's coming into convention, and I think we had a lot of fun with them because the reality really is. Some of the stuff we've been doing from day one, when we looked at the industry and we looked at, like, we did a lot of information gathering, right? Like, we were trying to figure out why people didn't change the things that they were doing. Right. And I think the number one answer we got from people that ran these other IMOs was, well, it's just the way we've always done it. And it's almost like, you're like, that's not your answer, right? Like, you can't, and the reality really is that it was working for them, so they didn't want to change it, not for the agents per se. So we're really happy coming into 2020. What makes me the most excited, Mike, I think, coming out of 19 is the impact this has had on people's families. You know, it's kind of funny. We get a little bit, we can lose some perspective when guys and girls are getting 8% bonus checks for $25,000.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, I got a guy who's like, hey, my bonus check was, my 8% check was $5,100. Like, it changed everything for me, changed this end of the year, changed the holiday season, it changed everything for my family. And I'm like, wow. But in the reality, I look back before we started Family First Live. Well, when we started Family First Live, I'd have taken $5,000. And probably the first 3 years in any given month, I'd have been,
show me the money.
I would have been excited,
right.
you know? So just we have fun with these things. We there's a lot of a lot of focus and truth behind the industry when we do these. You guys produce these movies. Best part about this trilogy, you know what the best part is?
I do know.
What
actually,
is it?
That you're not in it.
I'm not in it
because you didn't want to be.
No, it's not that I want to be. I just was letting them all get rolling. They were done. I was like, sweet, I'm out. So, but I really think for us, it was one of those things where, you know, I really want to, as you're thinking about what we got going on today, as you're thinking about what we're doing here coming in end of the year, I think, you know, you really have to be focused on the fact that we have so many people, the majority of people understand what we are doing. And what I mean by that is it took us, I think the bigger fight that we've conquered, and we're still fighting every day, was we had to get the majority of the people to understand that this, A, was not complicated, and B, the people expected us to help them. And I know it sounds simple, right? But, you know, I was at a meeting the other day, and the guy's like, well, you know, I asked Ivan, he's like, have this many appointments. He's like, oh, if you're lucky. And I'm like, no. And he didn't mean any harm, right. But it's just the thought process, right? He didn't mean any harm. It's just, he can't imagine. And it's like the minute you take a step back and you become accountable for what you're not doing, everything changes.
Right.
Because we're not asking anybody to do anything that everybody can't do. Everybody can do this at a high level. Everybody. So but it's this. How do you feel about it? I think, you know, somebody asked me, I have new agents. What's the number one thing you should teach them about getting in the field? It's we, not they. When I started talking about my clients, I was coaching. My clients were like, I was the coach. They were the team. We were on the same team. Right. They've asked me to come help them. So where does this they come from? They aren't. They should. I didn't do that. Mike, I didn't do that in 2008. Nope. We made a mistake. We didn't get them covered. What did they do? What did I do? I was the one coaching. You know, I obviously didn't have a handle on what their need was because there's zero doubt they wanted the help. So the presumptiveness with which we do this was a very hard struggle in 2013. You know, it's like, you always laugh. It's like, you take basketball, right? These guys and girls, man, the good ones can make free throws at like 91% a clip.
Right.
Well, dude, it's really just sitting still shooting a shot. That if you shoot enough, but then you go and like watch professional people do it, sometimes you're like, how is he or she possibly making like 60%? Well, it's here. There's not anything physical. They're unbelievable athletes. There's zero chance that they can't put the ball. The basketball fits in the hoop twice.
Right.
That was the very first thing we did every basketball season. Took a little video, would show them that it fits in there twice. So when you think it's hard to make a shot, actually the size of the basketball times 2 will go on the hoop at the same time. So it's not that complicated. And getting people to really understand that, I think that's what we're doing here is we got people understanding that these clients so badly need our help. And then we understand that naturally they're going to have some questions if we don't present ourselves that way, So I think that 2020, while our goal is $400 million, and we have the thing is we have the sales force to hit $400 million. It's not like we're going to we're going to continue recruiting. And what we're doing with the recruiting and the hiring is really finding people that, because if Mike, which you can't because I've seen you play basketball, but if you could shoot, okay,
right,
you can't.
From like right under the hoop, like.
Yeah, if you're really close, and neither can I, by the way. So just like we can't shoot, so our job is getting the ball to somebody else.
Right.
But here, the nice thing is just how many shots can we get up in our business, and I think that what people understand and have learned is the whole you got to figure out who you are on the phone. Mike, in 2008, it might have taken you 20 contacts to book 10 appointments. Might not have. Might have taken me 20 to book 18. But then again, I might have needed more appointments. I was better on the phone than I was in the home. Phone was just so easy. I was like, I'm coming over, and I could lock them down like you're going to be there, right? Any reason you won't be there, because as I come out, they'll make me remain there. I could do all that, right. But I really had to learn to listen and really coach them the right way, and that took some time. And then when I didn't think I coached them the right way, I would defer to them and ask them. So I think going into 2020, what we're really trying to figure out here is how do we get more people to be really in touch with who they are and what they're doing, really in touch with their accountability factor. I think some of the meetings I've gone to lately have been so refreshing because people are saying stuff like, I'm not where I want to be, but I know I can change A, B, and C. I'm not where I want to be. The world needs to fix itself. No, we got plenty of people making. I mean, you look at the amount of people that, like right now, you figure we're, coming into year end, right? This is our last Next Level Live, 2019. But here's the funny thing, and I'm in charge, but here's the funny thing, what we really have is so many people who have just kind of come off that year, right? And they're still trying to figure their numbers out, right? They're like, because the carry holds a week and we pull the numbers down purely because we have a lot of awards to give out. And you'll walk across the stage at annual convention if you issued how much in 2019?
$100,000.
$100,000. So if you issue $100,000, right, which by the way is big. So we haven't forgotten, because listen, so Jonathan Porcina issues like $8.2 million a year in life. I mean, like, I'm not mad at him. I'm just, and do I think anybody can do that? I don't know that I can do that. I mean, I'm saying any of us, but I know I can work really hard. If he could do that, I could do 5 or 6, right? Like, right. I'm just saying, but at the end of the day, we're so excited for those people because we've not lost focus on the fact that that's a stepping stone, that $100,000, whether it's your first year or your third year, whether you're like Zach Luffles, who's like, I did like $20,000 and then did like $100,000 and then did like $250,000. And I mean, it's a process and we all go through it differently. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't graduate college in 4 years.
Right.
It took me 5.
Yeah.
It was a process. I went to this college over here, got some classes. I was like, I'm over here. And I felt like I was very prepared. But, comparing and contrasting. So the key is whatever you want 2020 to be, dude, that started already. And the nice thing about it is you have complete control. And that's why we wanted to start the year off. Well, it's funny, because we were talking about earlier, starting the year off, and I lose my mind. Matt, Tiffany,
and Gavin.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where when we get people thinking the right way, everything changes. Right. And when you listen to these guys, girls talk today, please just clear your mind. For 2020, clear your mind. Clear your mind of whatever you think you do or don't know. Clear your mind of whatever pulls at you and says you can't do it, because that's a lie. Clear your mind of anything around you that says you can't do it, because that's a lie. Clear your mind of anything around you that says, hey, just get by. Don't go to the next level. Clear your mind of that, and you'll have the most unbelievable year, time-wise, money-wise, your family, your finances, your futures you've ever had. And it does start today. But if you stumble in 2, 3, 4, 5 months from now, well, if I get lucky, or I wonder if this, but he can do it and she can do it, it's going to be a problem. So Matt, Tiffany, Gavin, and the first segment of
the Big Bounty.
The Big Bounty. Are you excited?
I am.
Do you think you're going to get another best of division?
Possibly.
Yeah. I will vote for you.
Nice.
So I appreciate
well, then
it.
it's a win.
Then it's a win.
We got it.
So, guys, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks Shawn for having us on the Next Level Live call. We are closing out 2019, headed into 2020. And on today's call, I've got Tiffany Gruenberg with us and John Gavin with us. Both have done over $1 million of lifetime production, well over $1 million. Both of them have very successful agencies that are growing rapidly. And we're going to break this call into 3 different sections today. The first section that we're going to talk to you guys about is going to be purely on sales and how we can improve and get better in that category. We're going to talk about hiring in our second category. And then finally, we'll talk about mindset and things that you need to be thinking about coming into 2020. So the first thing I would say is 80% of this business is the phone, 15% is the in-home, and 5% is product knowledge. So we first got to identify a couple phone tips for you, because I think that's the number one reason why most people fail at this job is really they're inadequate, not prepared, not equipped, and don't understand the key points and topics that they need to stay on when it comes to the phone. I'm gonna start with Tiffany and we'll kind of rapid fire and discuss this together, but what tips can you give producers that are new or even veteran agents on the phone? What do you feel is important, and what do you feel that they need to do to be the most successful at it?
Well, I think understanding that when we say that this business is 80% phoning, that you understand that we're not making that up, right? That's an absolute fact.
Yeah.
It is 80% the phone, because you can't get in to see people if you are not good on the phones. So I think the number one thing would be we need to make sure that as new agents or even veteran agents that we're practicing. You need to be able to say the phone scripts in your sleep. You need to be able to understand that objections are natural, especially on the phone, and make sure that you are understanding that you have a go-to phrase when someone objects, no matter what the objection is. You're saying something like, okay, perfect, no problem, I totally understand. Something that you're always going back to buy yourself a little bit of time when the objection comes on the phone, so that you can realize what the objection is and move forward and back into the script. I think if you practice those things and practice the overcoming those objections, that you'll get so much better on the phone, and it will be easier, and you will feel like it's less daunting than it should be.
Absolutely. John, what would you say that you've seen for producers that start? Where do they fail on the phone the most?
Lack of preparation. I think that so many people look at a script, they think they have it down, they jump on the phones, but they haven't actually practiced that script over and over and over ad nauseum, and even recording yourself to see what you sound like. Because when we have a lot of new dialers come on board, they don't have any, once they get their first objection, they're just toast, they're gone, because they don't know the script, they can't jump right back into it. A lot of people don't realize how their tone comes across, because you don't want to sound like a telemarketer when you're on the phone. Like when somebody answers the phone, you don't want to seem excited, like Bob, like get all happy because they answer the phone, it's business. They should, it's like, hey Bob, and just go right into your script there. I think people once they get somebody to answer the phone, they get into a conversation with them, and that's not what you're there for. You want your phone script to be short and to the point, and just there for the purpose of setting the appointment. And a lot of people get outside themselves and they think that they're making a friend, and they're just wasting time.
No doubt. The couple things that I would share on the phone are simple. First is understand when to quick set appointment versus a quality set appointment. If people say, I'm going to call you back, make sure you say, what time are you and your spouse generally going to be home from work? And let's say it's 6 o'clock. Say, great, this is in regards to paying off your mortgage. If you were to die, I'm going to be out in your area between about 6:30 and 7. I'll see you at that time tomorrow. Does that sound fair to you? And I always like using the word fair, because everything seems fair. So making sure that you quick set appointments is crucial. When people have said already taken care of it, hey, perfect, that's the purpose of my phone call. I'm assuming you took the time to fill out multiple forms to get the best deal. My job simply to get you this information. What time are you and your spouse generally home from work? 6, great. I'm gonna be dispatched out in your area. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes to get you this information. I'll see you Tuesday between 6:30 and 7. Does that sound fair? And I think, just knowing how to transition quickly when you get objections is huge. Nothing good happens on the phone. A lot of times people talk too much and get caught up in conversations and lose appointments. So really having control on the phone is everything, like you mentioned as well. So,
and especially like with Matt, like Matt just did that script in like verbatim what you should be saying, and he did it because he practiced. I mean, that's what we're all saying, is you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to have those objections and how to overcome them, like right off the top of your head, so you don't sit there and then, like John said, then you start to panic, and because you thought you were good on the phone and then you're not, and it just kind of goes downhill from there. So practice.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if you're actually thinking about what you're saying, and it's not like a program robot, then you're gonna fail on the phone. Like, most people are not that prepared to really be equipped to overcome objection, or they get off track and they don't stay on the script, whatever the scenario is. But I think you just really need to focus on getting great on the phone, and your money problems will not exist for sure. The next topic that we want to cover in sales is really, Tiffany, how do we identify problems in the house? What's the best way to, because the only way that we get paid is by identifying the problem and solving the problem. So talk to people about that.
I think when you go into a home, you have to be prepared mentally and have taken a second to understand that people don't fill out forms for something that they don't need. They want you to come in there. They know that there's a gap in their life where they're not prepared for. So that's where you come in. So identifying what that problem is allows you to build value, first off. So when you're first in the home, you need to start asking simple questions, but making sure that you understand that you are the one who has the answers to them, the questions. So when it comes to watching people who get uncomfortable when you talk about the income difference, things like that, that's going to give you the opportunity to understand that there's going to be an income gap, and you're not just preparing a burial plan for someone. You need to be able to recognize that there's an income difference there and bring that out and bring it up. I think sometimes what we do is we get so linear and we focus so much on just making sure that we get a burial plan in place or something like that we forget to ask the bigger questions and really identify what the actual problem is. And that is, family's gonna have to come in from out of town. They're not gonna be able to afford the flight, things like that. And if we miss asking good questions and miss reading body language, when people get uncomfortable and they start to fold their arms or lean away from you, that's you saying you found a hot button. You found something that they are maybe uncomfortable talking about, and that's where, the more uncomfortable you get, the more comfortable your family gets, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's really important. Identifying those up front and laying out a process for your clients will help just lead right directly into a product picking.
What would you say, John, for identifying problems? What have you seen or helped? Maybe you thought they filled out the form for one reason, but you drilled down so much and found value in a story or whatever it might be.
I think all of that comes out in the financial inventory. I mean, it doesn't matter what appointment you're in, whether it's final expense or mortgage protection, or through an EverQuote internet lead, you have to do a full financial inventory, because that typically will lay the story out for you right there. It's going to show you what kind of income they have, what kind of income loss they're going to have, what they have in place for their burial expenses or mortgage protection or anything like that, what's going to be left behind. So that kind of helps paint the picture. And if it's final expense, what's the problem going to be if it's a single person and they have no coverage in place? Every time someone dies, there's a lot of expenses that are incurred. Like you said, somebody might have to come out of town. Not only the cremation or funeral that needs to be paid for, it's all transportation costs and all these other costs that start to accumulate. Well, that bill is left to somebody. And so who's that person going to be? And so every final expense appointment I go to, I ask who is going to be financially responsible for taking care of your final arrangements. And that's because somebody's going to have to pay for it. Who's that going to be? You identify that person, ask a lot of questions about that person, where do they live, they have to come from out of town, what they do for a living, do they have the $10,000 check that it's going to take to provide you the proper burial services. And if they don't, you say, I think it's great that you're actually putting something in place, making small incremental payments so they don't have to write a big one. If it's mortgage protection, a lot of families we sit with, when you do a financial inventory and you look at the disparity in the income, what's going to be left behind when one of the two of them dies, that's the first time they've ever looked at that. Yeah. And a lot of times it's a slap in the face. So a lot of times I'll do the financial inventory and I'll look at them and say, now I know why I'm here, look at this. If Bob doesn't wake up and make it home tomorrow, what are you going to do? And it's the first time that Mary realizes that she's going to be in a world of hurt if something happens to him, and thank God that I'm there to provide some help for them. So the financial inventory is the thing that identifies all the problems you're going to need to solve right there.
Absolutely. No, that's great. One of the things, one of the next points we want to cover is just building value in the house. And I think this kind of goes hand in hand as far as identifying problems, building value, et cetera. And that certainly financial inventory is the key to your success as far as locating premium and opportunities in the house. The one thing I would say is if you really are empathetic to your client's situation and you really start to put them in the picture and let them tell their own story, that will generally start to build the value and also identify the problem in the house, which is huge. So what are some things, Tiffany, you would say that helps build value in the house?
I think simple things, and I especially when I'm training new agents right now, there's a lot of wanting just to get through the financial inventory instead of recognizing why you're asking the questions that you're asking. And I think that when you realize the difference between those two things, that's where your value comes from. When you start asking the beneficiaries' names and you use them, if they're, John and Mary, who's going to be there to pick up the pieces when you're no longer with us? And they say their daughter, Jennifer. From now on, there is no beneficiary, there's Jennifer, and that's it. So when you recognize things like that, the reason that people don't buy is hands down because they don't understand what it does for them, right? And recognizing the type of people that you're sitting with. If you're in a house where there's no family pictures around, but there's a ton of animals, you better start talking about their animals, right? It's about finding the real thing that matters to your client because they already know that they have a need. You're not trying to create this need for them. They know it's there. You're trying to help them realize what they're doing because this is the most selfless thing that they can do. They are not going to benefit from it. And bringing that up again and using beneficiaries' names and congratulating them on being selfless is huge. And I think that right there, especially when we're all running a lot of final expense appointments during the holidays right now, huge time. People have just visited with family. They're thinking about them a lot. They're missing them if they're not able to come visit. And it's a huge time to be able to help solve those problems.
What do you think, John, helps you build value in the house?
I think so if you're able to always put the client before your own needs, not have commission breath when you're walking in, have a real conversation with them and understand what their financial situation is and show them how to solve the problems that they have there. A lot of our clients, when we, whether it's final expense or mortgage protection, they're on limited incomes. And so to show them something, not based off price, but based off value and what it's going to do for somebody else. Because if you have a married couple that's on limited income, just think of how if, a third or half that income is gone, how are they going to come up with the money for final expenses? If you're on a mortgage protection appointment and they're not very healthy, the way you build value in that is selling the fact that you can provide a whole life policy the coverage amount's never going to decrease, the price is never going to increase. This is going to be enforced when you need it most, and that's when this person dies. And it may not be able to pay the entire mortgage off, but you can put 1, 2, 3 years worth of payments in the bank, tax-free, which they don't have right now, in order to pull from when this person dies, because all three of us, we're going to die at some point. We don't know who's going to go first, okay?
Right.
And so when I sit with clients, I actually tell them that. And I said, if it's me, you guys are fine. If it's Mary, Bob, you're going to be really upset, but you'll survive financially. Bob, if it's you, Mary, you're in a world of hurt and you're not going to survive financially. So let's get this put in place today.
Right.
It's real simple.
The one thing I would say about building values is you always need 5 things in every single sale. They need to make sure they trust and like you. Okay, so it starts with you. Obviously, you need to make sure that your product is providing the solution to their problem that you've identified. And then they want to have trust in the companies that you represent, as well as Family First Life and why you are an independent agent. And then also making sure that it makes logical sense and financial sense. And that's a huge deal, and that's why we storytell with storytell with the emotional side, but make sure it's logical with financial inventory. So those are great ways to build value. The final little sequence on our sales portion is we'll just do 30 seconds on this stuff. How do you eliminate objections up front in the house?
By setting up a process. Tell them exactly what you're going to do. We're going to spend 5 minutes going over your current financial situation. I need to understand what happens when you don't walk in the front door. We're going to spend 5 minutes going over your health. At the end of the day, that's really what helps us understand who's going to give you the best rates here in our state. And then lastly, we want to talk about and find something that you actually qualify for. Does that make sense? As long as you set things up like that, you can start eliminating those objections right away. Because, I typically tell people, once we go through all this information, what we're going to do is send up a request for benefits to whichever carrier has agreed to give you the best ratings. You'll get a written response or a written approval in 5 to 10 business days. We'll go over them at that time. We want to see in black and white what we've requested is what they're actually offering you. So when you set that process up and then there's an objection to, the health information, or there's an objection to financial information or anything like that, you can go right back to the beginning and say, John and Mary, you guys got to help me out. When we came, when we first started this, we went over how this process works, what I'm required to get from you as far as information goes. Now we have a problem with what's happening. Let's go back and figure out, is it because you don't trust me? And then you can break down those 5 things that Matt was just talking about with them when it comes to those objections. Because if you do it right, you shouldn't have an objection at the end because they're on board with the process.
Absolutely. So we're going to move to the hiring section here as well. So when we think of hiring, the first thing I would say is it all starts with being consistent. I mean,
Yes.
The one thing that I've failed at, that we've all failed at, every single person, in my opinion, could do a lot better job, is being consistent in regards to hiring. And it's probably my number one regret, I suppose, in this business
All of ours.
is
Mine too.
not being as consistent as we want to be in regards to hiring. I think one of the things that I see so much is you can't do anything successfully if you continually start and stop. And you'll never build any momentum when you're consistently having to start and stop, and a lot of frustration and then emotion comes in when you start and stop. So the one thing that I think that we have done better at is we are beginning to not stop anymore. So we're creating a little bit of a snowball effect. That's why our agency, or all our agencies, have grown in 2019. So what can you add, Tiffany, to consistency that you would give us? Any tips that you give everyone?
Well, I think that what can happen, it's not just obviously staying consistent with creating new leads for yourself as far as people you want to talk to and bring into the business, but not just on that side of it, but when you do start seeing some success, because I've seen this a lot and I've fallen victim to this as well. When you do start seeing some success and your agency is starting to produce some numbers that, have gotten you into management positions and things like that, then you kind of want to put the brakes on a little bit and hold out and see, we're doing okay. And then you're not consistently still talking to new people, and you're not encouraging the people that are now writing insurance to start talking to people and things like that. And I think when you start to move up in those levels from, sales manager to senior sales manager, VP and on up, sometimes people will get into a position where their agency's doing okay. So they're like, well, I can take a week off. I'm not going to run ads this week. Or I'm not going to, I can get back to the people from Indeed or what have you in a week or two. It just has to be constant. Like, nobody is going to tell you can just take a full week of production off, right? And make money. You can't. So you can't do that with hiring either.
Absolutely. What do you think, John, in regards to consistency hiring? I mean, you've had a tremendous amount of...
I've started and stopped quite a few times.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest thing with consistency is that you have to put it into your schedule, just like everything else. You've got to set time aside for placing ads if you're working by yourself and doing some interviews, because the issue I came across is I'd find people in a certain area and go, okay, I got somebody there, they're good over there, and then not hiring more people over there, and then that person didn't work out, and then I've got nobody there. And so the difference I have now is, like, our platform is so strong, and we can just take on so many more people that we can hire as many people as we want everywhere we can in the country. and it's never been easier. Everything's plug and play now. I mean, we have, we can literally get an agent that's licensed and have leads in his hands in 2 days and have him out running business that quickly. And so we can hire nationwide right now, so there's no reason not to be doing that. If you haven't started hiring, you actually should, because it's a great business to be in, selling insurance and helping people out. It's even better to help people make an income they never thought they'd ever make in their lives. The best phone calls I've gotten so far have been from agents saying that they've had more money deposited into their account in 1 month than they ever thought imaginable. And so this business has changed my life drastically, and there's no better feeling than getting that same call from agents that is doing the same for them. But in order to do that, you've got to do it consistently. You've got to place the ads consistently. You've got to interview consistently, and you've got to get people into contracting consistently. Because like you said, if you don't, you can have inconsistent results from it. And that's what I did for the first couple of years. And once I started being consistent, then my agency really started to grow. Where first couple of years, it just fluctuated in between 6 and 8 agents the entire time. They were different 6 and 8. But they're 6 and 8.
Right.
And then now it's starting to grow because we're hiring consistently. And why not provide this platform to other people? Because it's such a great way to change your whole financial structure.
Absolutely. What would you say as far as getting agents started quickly, fast, successfully? What are some key points that you could give everyone to
get them on the phone right away? Get them on the phone right away. Get them out there. So many people think they need to know everything about everything. They don't. Okay. This process is really simple. When someone dies, somebody else gets a check. Okay. You can get better later on, but for right now, let's get you paid. And so we need to get people on the phone, setting appointments, get them into homes, and get a check into their account as quick as possible. Because 2 things happen is because we're built with such high performers that people don't think it's real. Like, people don't think it's real that, like, Jonathan issued over $100,000 in 1 month. It's like, no, that's not real. No, it is real, okay? But it starts with your first policy. And so we need to get people into the homes, get them selling, and get a depositor account, and then they realize that that's real, and that's how you keep your agents.
What excuses have you seen for agents not to get started?
All of them.
Yeah.
How about the most common?
The most common, I think that they're always getting ready to get ready. They don't
Sure.
have all the products. They don't know everything they need to know. And I tell them, you basically need to know. If you're starting off with final expense, it's so simple.
Yeah.
First of all, you get the leads in your hands in 48 hours, and you just dial, and when someone dies, you cover the burial costs. It can't be any easier than that.
Right.
And so I think that timid people get a little nervous about that, and they'll make every excuse up. But the people who are going to be successful will just put their head down, go run the appointment, fail if they need to, but then learn a lot from it, and then come back and get better.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say getting agents started? Any tips that you have seen that works well as well?
I think I think we all agree that getting ready to get ready is it's like an epidemic that happens with new agents. And I think when you start like not acknowledging the get ready to get ready mentality, that it will change everything for you. Because agents that do that are either going to consistently be there, or you just have to kind of give them that big kick out of the nest and say it's time to fly now at some point. Because you need 3 things. Like, you need to get ready or be really good at 3 products. Everything else will come along the way. If you're running final expense only, you need 3 products. That's it. And instead of trying to learn every single product, just get good at 3. That's what, when I first started Matt, that's what Matt told me. He's like, you just need 3 products. I had no idea. I just went out and they were going to die. We all do. So I'm like, okay, this fits the budget. Perfect. When you die, this person gets that. And I think a lot of times agents are worried that they're going to place the wrong product. Let me be super clear on this. And I've said it before. You can't do this wrong. If someone dies and their family or loved one gets a check, you did it right. And there's no way to screw that up. There just isn't. So if that's what's holding you back, it's time to get out of the nest and go help some families.
What has helped you identify for agents that don't start? And because we hire a lot of people, and some are very motivated and they get started, and other people are not returning phone calls. And then a lot of times agents get frustrated with that process because they feel like they had someone when they really didn't. Any advice in regards to agents that don't move and how to process through that and generate more business on the other side of the coin?
I think that it's important to understand that your personality as a leader and a mentor is not going to be the same as everyone else's. So that, I think that's a first step to it. And then once you recognize that, you can really determine the people that have their feet set in concrete and are not going to move. And it's not just a personality conflict. Because if you allow your personality to get in the way, then you're becoming emotional about things as a leader. And instead of doing that and just being able to recognize that this person was never going to even start a W-2 job where they had to clock in and clock out, you can identify that a lot faster. So by, really just becoming unemotional about it and really helping people just get that first check, like John said, that first deposit's all your goal is for folks. And the people that will not pick up the phone, my key is if you won't run script with me, I'm pretty sure you're gonna stay in your house a long time not making money.
Absolutely.
That's pretty key.
Yeah.
If you're worried about the person that's not moving, you're not hiring enough people.
Exactly.
You need to.
Exactly.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. What, John? You've done a great job with this. Best ways to get into your warm market, and not only just your personal warm up market, but your friends, or even your agents, people that they know. Any advice you can give warm market? Because I think when you start to identify a lot of success in every single agency, it's with warm market because they simply trust you, they move quicker, etc. So what would you give advice for?
I think a great tool now, and a lot of people are using this, is social media. Just because of the fact, and we're such a transparent company here that we're way more transparent than you'd even think.
Yeah.
I mean, to show bank deposits, nobody else does that. I guarantee it. Okay. I was talking to an agent that was thinking about going with us versus somebody else. And I said, how much insurance is the guy wrote that you're looking at working with, the other guy? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, send him a text, ask him to send you his bank account. Just show him deposits in there. And he did, and the guy wouldn't do it. And I said, I'll do mine. Boom, there you go. So, but for transparency, we have a lot of agents out there that, some people might be turned off by it, but you don't know who's looking for another opportunity. My first day on a new job, somebody came and said, hey, you're interested in selling insurance part-time? I said, yeah. So the first day on a new job is not somebody you'd ideally think is looking for a new opportunity, because that is a new opportunity. But that's how I got here, was because somebody offered me this. So you don't know who's looking for that, but social media is a great tool to use to show your success and what you've done and show deposits, because somebody might see that and say, I'm not making near that and I'm miserable over here, and they'll reach out to you. Maybe it's not in a public forum, maybe it's a direct message or something like that, or a text saying, hey, can I learn more about that? But the more we use social media to show our success, the more people, it's not bragging, it's actually helping people out, because we're reaching people that we wouldn't normally think would need help.
No question. What advice would you give people in regards to warm market and hiring?
I think sometimes what stops people from talking to their warm market is that they're considering their warm market to be the 10 people they talk to the most. And your warm market isn't just those 10 people. It's everyone that you can reach on a social media platform. That's considered a warm market, right? So when you're talking to family, or you're at Christmas and you're talking to a cousin that's not around very much, and they're like, oh, my best friend actually was looking at this. It's so much bigger. Your warm market is so much bigger than I think we give it credit for. So we tend to, we don't want to talk to those 10 people, but those 10 people know 10 people who know 10 people who know 10 people. And right there, you're talking to 50 people because you had one conversation. So I think recognizing warm market as being bigger than yourself and those, your super close circle is going to be really powerful when you start really hiring and being consistent with that.
Absolutely. I think one of the key factors to warm market is that we've identified and done a better job at is when we do hire maybe a licensed agent, for example, that we automatically ask if they want to be a business owner. There's a big difference between being self-employed and creating a job for yourself, and now we're talking about actually owning a business, operating a business. And the vast majority of people, when you ask that question, really want to be a business owner, want to have their own agency. So when you identify that, is there any reason why we won't get started now? And then we start to hire 5 more agents with the agents you hire, or 10 more, or whoever. That's how Andrew Taylor's team's grown tremendously that way. There's a million different success stories I can give you. Kilman's, Southeast, etc. A lot of you have learned how to ask those questions up front. So it's no different in hiring as it is in sales, where your job is to identify who you have in front of you, right? Who's the individual? What do they want out of this business, right? Because it's one thing to try to identify goals for someone, but what do they want out of the business? What are they looking to do? And if they're looking to do it, there's no reason to wait. The biggest thing that I've always said, right? I heard this from Shawn years ago is, for people's warm market, don't make financial decisions for other people.
Yeah.
You might not be that good at this.
Uh-huh.
But what if your friend is? And you
Right.
you eliminate the ability for them to make a living because you're scared that it might not work for you. Like, the aggressive person wins every single time. Whoever goes on offense in every single facets, whether it's purchasing more leads, attacking more market, having a huge marketing budget, having staff's office, whoever goes on offense the most wins. Because if you're always playing in that defensive mindset, you'll never get ahead in this business. So those are some, quick hiring tips that I would give you. And we're going to go ahead and move to mindset and closing out 2019, coming into 2020. So in regards to mindset, which I'm a huge fan of knowing what type of person that you're dealing with. So one of the key things in the beginning is, I don't care that you want to know products and how to sell every single thing. What I really want to know is, when the going gets rough, how are you going to handle it in regards to your emotions? What happens in regards to when the going gets rough? Do you have the grit to get through this business? So I think mindset really is more important. And I would go as far as this. Deep down, 100% whether you're going to make it or not in this business. When I first got introduced to the financial services business, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was going to make it in this business. And I didn't question it. So in your gut what you're willing to do, because I'm not so interested in how talented you are. I'm more interested in how willing you are to put the work in regards to this. So what would you say, Tiffany, successful habits, schedule, things like that you give some tips for everybody on the call?
I think that, I'm a big fan of following the leader. I think that's what I did when I first started, is when you see, agents that are on the next level call and they're talking about what their schedule is, you should mimic that schedule. You should mimic anyone who's writing a high amount of insurance. You should be doing that. You should be getting that lead product. You should be getting as many leads as they are. Your schedule should mimic that, because this business is built by people who have already done it. So when you're new and you're trying to reinvent that wheel, please don't do that. Just start doing what other leaders are doing. And I think at FFL, that's something that we are amazing at, is sharing that. We getting into a mindset where you recognize, yes, I can do that, instead of questioning how to do it, because how to do it is already there. It's already written out for you on the websites and on the training apps that we have readily available to us. So I think by following the leader, finding a mentor that you can, and by the way, you don't have to talk to the mentor. You can just listen to their podcasts and their trainings, which is what I do, because we're all busy. But I think that's huge. I think just, kind of being a copycat in the first part of your business will set you on the right path to success.
Absolutely. What do you think success habits early on?
I think successful agents early on are like students of the game, the career, and you'll find that the most successful agents are the ones. We have so many resources out there and that are available to us. I mean, we have podcast recordings, AMS Live, TNL Live, all those other things that are accessible to people. What I've found, my successful agents are the ones that go, you give them a little bit and they take a lot, and they go through all the podcasts, they go through the training videos, and they lock those calls in, like when they know when the podcasts are released and when to watch them. They know when the live calls are, and they're on them without a doubt. And I know when I first started, getting on the sales calls was never a question. Something I had to do. And so if you can set your schedule in concrete around those training things and try and get better every day, then you're setting yourself up for success. And that's what good agents do.
Absolutely. I think one of the key things, which I was just talking about as far as people's success, that's important, is how you eliminate distractions.
Yep.
Yes.
So I truly believe that, with life, you're either, coming into a tragedy or in a tragedy or coming out of it.
Yeah.
It's that's how it works. So
Yeah.
what would you say when you get off track, John? What do you do to get back on track quickly. Because the one thing that I'll give you a lot of credit for is over this past year or so, before when you got distracted, it might take you a couple of weeks, right?
We're off the
Like,
rails.
like where's John?
Yeah.
Well, you know, exactly. But now you've been able to, you know, because still life stuff is happening to you, right? So everybody's got stuff going on. So how are you able to stay focused and eliminate a distraction and get back on task?
The biggest thing is the word no, telling people no. Okay, there's certain things that you just have to say no to, and those are the small distractions there. When you have your schedule and you realize what's at stake, and you know if you're just selling insurance, you don't have an agency. It's like you want to go to a barbecue, you want to go to this party, whatever. It's not just taking a day off. It's two things. It's how much money could you have made, and how many people could you have helped, and you sacrifice all of that to go to a barbecue for a couple hours. But on top of that, I mean, Shawn said something that really stuck with me a while back. Because I have an agency now, and I've got agents that need my support, need my help, and I need to be there for them. When people are financially dependent on you and their careers, you don't have the opportunity to be mediocre goes out the window. Yeah. So you have to stay on track. And as a manager, people watch what I do, because I have new agents coming on board, and it's like, okay, who are you? What have you done? Well, I produce about $30,000 a month and run an agency, you know, and if I got off track and stopped doing those sort of things, I'd lose sort of that credibility. And then if I wasn't working all the time, I wouldn't be there for my agents. So that's kind of what keeps me going now.
Absolutely. What advice would you give you in regards to eliminate distractions?
I think recognizing that, like we said, everyone gets distractions, life happens to everyone. It's just a matter of deciding, and this is like the decision-making process is easy. It's yes or no.
Yeah.
It is yes or no. You can allow yourself to be distracted, or you can decide not to be. So I think when distractions happen, if you're communicating with your circle, and I think that's massive. Like for Dan and I, our daughters know and are very in tune, like, I'm not going to be at this game, Dad's going to make this one, and things like that. When you communicate with your family, your friends, all of that kind of stuff, then it's so much easier to say no and for people to be accepting. If you try to make everything, then you're going to get overwhelmed and it's going to feel exhausting, and you're not going to be making the right choices. But if you communicate with your teammates, your managers, your agents, your family, all those kinds of things, I think that distractions kind of fix themselves. You're allowing yourself the opportunity to say no and not feel bad or guilty, or you're going to help somebody instead of, going to a barbecue.
Absolutely. I think one of the key things is you have to, identify maybe a habit of yours that is your worst habit, that is producing no results, and you have to replace it with a good one, right? I think those are some key basic things that you can do to make sure you're not distracted. Is what are the habits that you have, because they're really going to determine your success in business, which brings me to our next point is goals. Goals, we're coming up on 2020 here, hopefully that you reach your goals. I know as far as Family First Life, for us to go from 21 million in 2014 all the way to about 230 million here in 2019 is pretty incredible. On our way to 400K here. I don't question that we won't be right at 400 or more this next year. First thing I always say is with goals is only 3% of people write down their goals, which is interesting. If you're really looking to go to the next level, you write down daily goals, because I talk about goals get lost most of the time. But what doesn't get lost is, having some tasks every single day. So the best thing I can tell you about tasks is they don't have to all be business oriented. You need small wins in every area of your life. You need small wins on getting up at the same time, working out, eating better, all these different aspects you need small wins at. And then you need income producing activities in regards to those daily tasks. So what can you do that's going to produce the highest amount of profit for you today? And then, John alluded to it earlier, opportunity cost is a big thing. Every choice and decision you make, there is a cost to it. So understand, if you decide to take that day off, it might cost you from hiring that one agent that would maybe be a board member one day. I mean, it's crazy the type of snowball effect that can work every single which way. It's crucial. So in regards to, goals, Tiffany, what advice would you give people for 2020? Obviously different people are going to have different ambition levels and different goals, but what would you say for goals coming into the new year?
I think it's important to reverse engineer your goals. Yeah. I think that what we tend to do is set goals, and they're real big and they're awesome and all those kinds of things, but then we never think about how to get there. And how to get there is by setting little goals, right? Small steps. And like Matt was saying, whether they're daily or weekly, when it comes to habits, things like that, you have to just reverse engineer. How do I get here? And if you're going into 2020, I think that the biggest thing you need to do is, number one, get your schedule on point. And a goal can be that you're going to run 30 appointments a week. You're going to spend the windshield time that you have in between appointments interviewing. You're going to hire staff. You have to make this much to hire staff. It's just reverse engineering those things to understand how to get to that bigger goal. Because I think a lot of times you set a big goal and then it's just sitting there and it can feel really heavy. But when you break it down into little pieces, it's easier to carry a small piece than it is to carry the huge weight.
Absolutely. Goals for 2020. By the way, when are you going to hit board member for 2020? What do you think?
I think August.
August?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think August, yeah.
So June then. That's good.
That's how Matt says goals.
So I think goals, I think they should be in line with what the company's doing.
Yeah.
Growing percentage-wise. And if you can go ahead of that, fine, that's great. But I think at a minimum, you should be where the company is.
Sure.
And that's kind of where my goals are. But the thing about goals is that they don't, sorry, I got the flu. So.
It's okay. I mean, all right.
So your goals for 2020, we're almost there. So you should be implementing them now, not thinking about them, implementing them now, because in order to hit them, you got to hit the ground running starting January 1st. And so I think that all your goals should be written down on paper. If you don't have them now, do it today, and put them in place tomorrow, because in order for them to hit them, you've got to have them activated by January 1st or you're starting behind. I think that this company is going to see massive growth and the growth that we've seen has been phenomenal. And the thing I love about, the people we get to work with is we work with some pretty sharp dudes, and they're continuously finding new ways to put us in front of more people and provide more products to sell more on an individual basis. And so whatever your goal should be for next year, they should be pretty lofty. But like Tiffany said, reverse engineering, because you can't just say, I want to do this amount here. You have to design how you're going to get there. And the more detailed your goal plan is, the higher the chance of you actually reaching it.
Absolutely. Final question is, take a minute or so, each of you. What do you wish you would have known when you first got started that you know now? I think that's one of my favorite questions for people like ourselves that have been in business for a while, for new people to hear and really have the perspective for even the veteran agents, right? So Tiffany, what would you say, you wish you would have known starting that you know now? And what would you change, right?
I think we could go back and change a lot. But I think what I would have, and I don't know if it's something that I wish I would have known, but I wish I would have been more cognizant of, is that I wish I would have known how many people's lives that I could impact and change on the hiring side. Because it took me a long time to recognize that, because and maybe it's me being selfish or what have you, but just realizing early on that the things I was doing, other people could be doing, and I could be impacting that. It just, to me, I think that's one of the big things. I wish I would have known that I could help someone issue pay more in a month than they made in an entire year, which is what I did right from the beginning. And I just, I wish I would have known that earlier.
Absolutely. John?
So two things. The first one is that being unbroke is not a good place to be, because when I came here, I was broke. And then I made money, so I was unbroke. I'm like, this is cool. I'll just hang out here for a while.
Very successful.
Very successful, yeah.
But there's a lot more levels above unbroke that are a lot more fun. And so
I paying my bills.
I stayed unbroke for a little bit, and I shouldn't have. There's that side of it, and also this whole system is something that it's not meant for everybody, but anybody can do it. And as long as you start plugging people in And you'll be surprised that even if you're not a good manager, that people find a way to work themselves out. And then you build that fire underneath you when you find the right agent or two agents, and it makes you want to hire more. Because when I first started hiring, I wasn't very good at it, and I didn't create very successful agents. And I quit and started and stopped a couple times, and then I found a couple that worked out. They just did work out, and it kind of fueled me to do more. And so by finding those few of those agents, by just plugging them into our system, and they just took off on their own, now I'm able to help a lot of different people because our system just works for everybody. If you do want to build an agency, don't wait, because you don't get a second chance at time. So you're better off to start earlier than later. And the earlier you start, the better chance you do have to build a massive agency and help a lot of people.
Absolutely. I think the couple key things that I'll wrap up with is most people do not let that compounding effort take place over time, like that start-stop scenario. That's huge. And also, you need to learn how to use your personal production for cash flow purposes. Like, obviously, you need to be able to pay your bills and have some fun money, but you also need to be able to have marketing dollars, staff, etc., and learn how to scale tremendously. So personal production, your goal should be, to take this much in, but really, the one thing I wish I wouldn't have done is I probably could have been doing $400,000 a year early on instead of $700,000 or whatever for personal production, and focus more on hiring. So don't just stay in one lane because you're having an opportunity cost on another lane, right? Mm-hmm. So the more that you look at what you need to make, and then all your time, energy, and effort goes into that hiring, being a business owner, the more successful you'll be. And what you're seeing is people like Eric Schmidt or people that have gotten into this business early, and they are literally, hitting strides like you wouldn't imagine, because they're just learn from what other people have done. Success leaves tracks. So 2020 is here, and it's now for the taking. So I appreciate having John and Tiffany on the call, and I appreciate you guys plugging in, and let's make it a great year, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey, new girl, you in or what?
Name's Clementine. Yeah, I'm in.
You got to be kidding me. Charlie, how many hands she win?
It's like 4 out of 5, boss.
Yep, that sure was 4 out of 5.
So where you from, new girl?
Well, I'm from Rogue Bounties.
Rogue Bounties.
Rogue Bounties. It's the highest rewards and the freshest bounties. Best in the West.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
I ain't buying it.
Nah, they can't be the best in the West if we already the best in the West.
There can only be one best.
Anyway, I got the biggest bounty coming in this town that this town's ever seen. I was wondering if you guys want in on it.
Is that right?
Sure is.
Listen, new girl, you got a lot to learn. We ain't gonna help you with your bounties. We got plenty of our own bounties to take care of around here.
But we ain't helping you with nothing.
Nope.
Speaking of bounties, we gonna get our bounties for the day?
Oh, you gonna get your bounties. Matter of fact, why don't you get on out of here, new girl? We got some business to discuss with the real best in the West.
Alright, well, I best be on my way then. I got bounties to catch.
Be gone.
See y'all later.
Yeehaw.
You think that Baxter only gave us these to try to show up Clementine? Since she was talking all that best in the West junk?
No, Baxter wouldn't do that, Delilah, I'm telling you.
If you say so, Charlie.
Anyways, I'll see you down at the sheriff's office so we can cash in these bounties and get paid.
If you're looking for Wild Bill, you ain't gonna find him here.
What do you mean? This is where he lived, ain't it?
Where he lived.
Would you kick him out or something?
No, some new girl came. She had a bounty just like you got there. She was good though, not like y'all.
8, 9, 10.
There you go, $10,000. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I'm just happy we got Wild Bill off them streets.
Me too.
Thank you very much.
You already got another bounty? Good, because my last one was already taken by the new girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, must be some big coincidence.
That's weird, because the same thing just happened to me in my last bounty. Must be one big coincidence.
Well, I'm gonna have to go talk to Baxter. He'll sort it out. You know he always does.
Great.
Hey, Charlie, you cashing that bounty already?
No, sir.
No. Tell me you did not let him get away, Charlie.
Thanks, Jazz.
I can't be giving you no bounties if you ain't gonna catch him.
No, I didn't, boss. Someone beat me to it. I think it was Clementine.
Who?
Clementine.
Boy, we ain't got no Clementine that work here.
You know, that girl from Road Bounties, same thing happened to Delilah.
Y'all need to be faster, boy. You can't be out there petting horses when you're supposed to be catching bounties.
I don't even like horses, sir.
I tell you what, Charlie, I'm gonna head on down to that sheriff's office, find out what's going on with these bounties. I'm sure it was just a mix-up, okay? In the meantime, take this bounty right here, okay? He'll make up for it.
Thanks, Baxter.
Yeah, no problem, Charlie. Now get on out of here, boy. I can smell the money on that bounty from here.
What in tarnation are you doing here, Charlie?
I just got this new bounty for Betty the blacksmith. What are you doing? Buying you horseshoes?
I don't even own a horse, you fool. And I got Betty's bounty right here.
What a coincidence. These are the same.
Ain't no coincidence, Charlie. Baxter's done gave us the same dang bounty.
Well, I'll just go talk to him.
Oh, because that worked out so well the last time. Let's just go in there, get that bounty, and we can split it 50-50.
Okay.
What in the heck is you doing?
I'm just trying to get this lasso out. It's so old and knotted, I can just barely use it.
Jesus! You got to be kidding me.